Soren lived in a house where the wind always howled, a place where he believed love should sound like the crashing waves. He spent his days waiting for Elara to say the words that would make him feel like a king. He wanted anthems, grand declarations, and promises written in the stars. He watched her constantly, measuring the depth of her heart by the volume of her voice. While Soren waited for the thunder, Elara was the steady earth beneath his feet. Every morning, before the sun dared to wake him, she walked the freezing shoreline. She gathered the driftwood that the tide had spit out, her fingers numbing in the salt spray, just so the hearth would be warm when he finally opened his eyes. Soren grew restless. He told her they should sail to the farthest islands to prove their devotion to one another. He wanted a trial by fire, a story to tell. Elara did not look up from her work. She was busy on a high ladder, hammering down the shingles that the night's gale had loosened. She knew that a house without a roof could not hold a home. One evening, the silence between them felt like a mountain to Soren. He sat across from her and demanded to know why she never spoke of her passion. "Is your heart a hollow thing?" he asked, his voice sharp with a hunger for drama. Elara continued to knead the bread for their supper, her knuckles white, her rhythm unbroken. To test her, Soren decided to disappear. He slipped away into the she-caves during the low tide, hiding in the shadows. He imagined Elara running along the cliffs, screaming his name, her hair wild with panic. He wanted to see her love break out of its quiet cage and finally make a sound he could recognize. From his hiding spot, he watched the house. He saw Elara come outside, but she did not scream. Instead, she went to the shed and brought out the heavy shears. She spent the afternoon pruning the briars from the path he liked to walk, working until her palms bled, ensuring he wouldn't stumble when he decided to come home. When Soren returned at dusk, his clothes damp and his heart full of resentment, he found her sitting by the fire. "You didn't even look for me," he accused, his voice echoing in the rafters. Elara looked at him, her eyes tired and deep like the ocean. She did not defend herself. She simply stood up and draped a warm, dry blanket over his shivering shoulders. The days turned into months, and Soren's doubts became a wall. He treated her silence as a lack of care, her steady presence as a lack of fire. He pushed her away with his questions, testing her patience, until the light in her eyes began to dim. Elara moved through the house like a ghost of the woman she had once been, her strength ebbing away with every doubt he cast. One morning, Soren woke to a house that was perfectly still. The fire was roaring, his breakfast was warm on the table, and his boots had been polished to a shine. But when he called for Elara, there was no answer. He ran from room to room, finding only the echoes of his own voice. The seat across from him was empty, and the air felt thin. He realized then that love wasn't the storm he had been chasing. It was the roof that kept the storm out. He had spent his life listening for a shout, while the most beautiful song had been playing in the quiet click of the gate and the warmth of the hearth. He went to the shore to find her, but the tide had already smoothed the sand where she used to walk. He finally understood her love, but there was no one left to hear him say it. This story shows us that sometimes we search for love in loud moments, big promises, and dramatic proof, forgetting that real love often lives in the quiet, in the small acts, the patience, and the presence that doesn't fade. We question it, test it, and push it, not realizing that love isn't meant to be proven over and over, but protected and trusted. The deepest love doesn't always speak loudly. It shows up, stays, and gives without asking for applause. And if we doubt it too much, we may one day turn around and find only silence where warmth once lived. So choose to trust, to hold on gently before something real becomes something you can no longer reach.